Right now, it's time for our special segment, Hunting for Value, and Mangalam has a metal stock on his radar today.
Absolutely. So after a stellar rally of nearly 185% between 2016 and 2017, Tata Steel, that one's corrected about 20% in 2018 so far, lost about a quarter of its market cap from its 52-week high levels of close to 750 rupees. Now, the street believes there are these reasons for the fall. Opposition by ThyssenKrupp employee union to a joint venture with Tata's European business, fears that Tata Steel may make revisions to this joint venture deal, and the negative sentiment on the metal stocks owing to a possible trade disruption due to global tariff wars are the key reasons for this fall. Add to that, the recent rally in the dollar index all the way from 90 to 95 didn't do too well for the metals across the world either. Remember, Tata Steel's European business has been an overhang on the company, with nearly 62% of the company's liabilities and only 16.5% of its earnings before interest and tax. And remember, the company's consolidated debt to equity of 1.5 times will rise with the new acquisitions via the IBC, pressuring their balance sheet in the near term. This perhaps explains the falls, but there are quite a few possible triggers for reversal. The first one, of course, is the speedy resolution of ThyssenKrupp joint venture without any bigger adjustments. That is something the street would like. Benefits of Bhushan Steel acquisition becoming visible, and winning this bid for Bhushan Power and Steel will benefit the company on account of lower expansion costs as well as time savings. The consolidation in the sector as a whole, as a result of this, would lead to better pricing, and there is a strong demand cycle despite the tariff wars that are taking place, and any clarity on the debt management plan as well as future of the European business will be taken well by the street. Brokerages by and large positive on Tata Steel. There you have it. Nearly 23 of the brokerages that we have are either a buy or an outperform rating on the stock, as against 4 which are either hold or just 1 underperform. So some brokerage calls should come up for you on your screen. We have Jefferies with a hold rating, 584 rupees target price. We have Edelweiss buy on the stock with a target price of 903, as well as Kotak recommends another add on Tata Steel with a 12-month price target of 710 rupees. Valuation wise, the stock does trade at a discount to its peers, so about 7.5 times FY19 price to earnings, 7 times FY20 price to earnings. So with these triggers in place as well as the reasons for the fall, it will be very interesting to see how the street treats this recent correction in Tata Steel's stock price. Is there value, or after a stellar rally in the last 2 years, all the positives are priced in? That is something only time will tell. But before I wrap, a quick disclaimer: this is not a stock recommendation for buy or sell, just some research that I've put out.
Okay, all right, Mangalam, thanks very much. Yes, we take that on board. This is definitely not a stock recommendation, but let's carry the conversation forward, the debate forward, whether Tata Steel deserves to see some sort of a rebound right now, whether it's worth an investment. We have with us Amit Dixit, who looks at this company. He's from Edelweiss. Amit, morning. Thanks for joining in. So as Mangalam was highlighting, there are a couple of near-term concerns, right? There's, of course, this whole tariff talk issue, which could perhaps, sort of turn the sentiment against it. There's rising Chinese supply. And, of course, the biggest perhaps fear of them all, what if the deal with ThyssenKrupp goes off the table? Which of these 2 or 3 factors do you think is a real threat for you?
Yeah, good morning. So Tata Steel, recently, as has been highlighted, it has struggled a bit because of 3 factors. One is, of course, the whole ThyssenKrupp thing and the concerns of it falling apart. The second thing is, of course, the deleveraging front. On deleveraging front, the Tata Steel's endeavor, has been quite undermined by the fact that there are too many moving parts, like acquisition of Bhushan Power and Steel. Add to it the fact that the street was expecting that there would be some respite from debt post ThyssenKrupp deal. Now, a probability of it not happening or not happening in the way it was initially envisaged has been negative for the stock, and add to it the fact the macro concerns such as rising dollar index and of course the global tariff wars. So all in all, I believe that these are certain certain short-term or medium-term concerns that have kept the stock quite subdued in terms of performance. If you compare it with the peers such as JSW Steel in terms of stock performance. But in long term, we do believe that in India there is going to be ample scope, ample headroom for the larger players to become even larger. And particularly Tata Steel's Bhushan Steel's acquisition, I believe it will be value accretive. The reason being the auto grade steel, which is like, selling like hotcake at the moment, and you have add to it the fact that this particular kind of steel commands a premium over the regular steel in the market. So that is one thing. Then any resolution on ThyssenKrupp, which is expected by end of this month or later, would be kind of perceived in a very positive manner if Tata Steel doesn't have to give away too much. On valuation, I would say that the stock is quite reasonably valued as compared to its domestic peers as well as global peers. But word of caution over here is that, in the short term, the macro concerns are playing a major role and are keep the valuation subdued. See, there is absolutely no concern on the earnings at the moment. The earnings would hold good, earnings would increase, but it is like very much the situation in FY14 when the steel companies actually showed an increase in earnings, but the valuations remained subdued. So this is the kind of dichotomy unfortunately we are struggling with. But at this price, I believe Tata Steel definitely deserves a look.
Okay, Tata Steel deserves a look. Your target price is what, 903 on Tata Steel?
Yes,
Amit?
it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a significant upside because the stock is quoting at what, 560 from here on. But given the near term or the medium term macro pressures that you alluded to, the concern about debt because they will go ahead and acquire Bhushan Steel, plus there is a possibility of the ThyssenKrupp deal getting revised, which may perhaps take less debt away from Tata Steel. But in the medium to near term, do you see the stock headed lower?
Well, I would see that I would consider it this way, that even if you consider all these negatives like even ThyssenKrupp, and of course the street has got a different kind of assumptions based on the kind of debt that Tata Steel would be able to park in joint venture. So I believe, as I have been maintaining this, that the street has taken into the fact the cost part of it, and of course the worst element of it. The kind of worst possible assumptions, the most conservative assumptions, I believe. But the upside that comes from any relief on this front, ThyssenKrupp or Bhushan for that matter, Bhushan Power and Steel. So these are the certain concerns that have kind of pulled that stock down. Answering your question directly, I don't believe that the stock is headed quite low from these levels, because I believe that at this price the concerns are mostly priced in.
Okay, all right, Amit, we'll leave it on that note then. Thanks very much for joining in. That's a positive call from Edelweiss on Tata Steel. Speaking of Tata Steel, let's broaden it out to the rest of the commodity universe.